The Commanders, remember? They used to be the Redskins, and then they were Brand X, the Washington Football Club. Now they're the Commanders. The team is owned by Dan Snyder. I know people who know him. I've never met him before. I hear he's a good guy, but he's been under fire. Allegations of financial misconduct on the team, some issues with the treatment of employees. It has become a federal case, literally, possibly in part because, well, Washington, D.C., that's where the football team is. And Anita Dunn has a hand in all of this, perhaps. Anita Dunn on the left there, longtime Democrat political heavyweight. There she is with David Axelrod. What is her role in this matter? I'd like to bring in Joe Tacopina, criminal defense attorney. He represents the NFL Washington Commanders owner, Dan Snyder. Welcome, Joe, back to Newsmax. How are you?
Good, Greg. Thanks. How are you?
Terrific. Tell us a little bit about the situation that your client, Mr. Snyder, is in.
It's quite frankly perplexing, mind-boggling. The House Oversight and Reform Committee irresponsibly sends a letter to the FTC, Greg. And in that letter, they falsely allege financial issues at the team based solely on untested testimony, and a letter from a disgruntled former employee, this guy, Jason Friedman. And you know, the funny part is, if this were really the House committee trying to do an investigation, a fair, impartial, nonpartisan investigation, which it's clearly not because there's a massive divide in this House committee. The Democrats sit on one side and they're running this thing, and the Republicans are outraged that, in fact, where Congress is spending its time on something so outside of its jurisdiction, so outside of its importance, you know. But the House committee, shockingly, Greg, never even asked the team for a comment on the response or a response to the allegations, not for a document, not for one thing that would contradict or confirm these allegations. They just irresponsibly and recklessly sent a letter to the FTC, which is completely false. And of course, this is all in an election year where there are political campaign tactics at play.
It does seem totally kind of outside their zone to be dwelling on matters like this. Now, the workplace situation, allegations of, you know, a toxic work environment. Some, I believe, involve other individuals at the organization, not necessarily your client, but they had a hearing about this and folks came forward. Let's take a listen.
I was asked by my boss to attend a networking event and, to dress cute.
I still decided to tell my boss about my harasser's public comments about my appearance, his unwanted kisses on the cheek, and the emails about special gifts he expected from me.
Every day, I was forced into uncomfortable conversations about my body and about my appearance.
What started as friendly and professional conversations quickly turned into him texting inappropriate messages that made me feel extremely uncomfortable.
Okay, but they're not exactly talking about a Supreme Court nominee. This individual they're talking about, the individuals, they don't work on Capitol Hill. They're associated with a football team, and that's happening on our time.
Right, a private company. Look, one of the Republican senators in examining one of these witnesses said, so let me get this right. After a decade of this event happening to you, you didn't go to the EEOC. Have you ever heard of the EEOC? He said, did you ever go to the EEOC? No, you came right to Congress. That was your venue a decade later. And that's the funny part of all this. All these witnesses have either glowing letters that were sent to the organization when they left the organization, talking about what a great life experience it was for them, thanking Mrs. Snyder personally. And of course, these women are talking about their direct employees, not Mr. Snyder. But the fact of the matter is, this was all, Greg, investigated by the NFL for a year, comprehensively investigated. They hired outside counsel, and it was fine. The team was fine for a hostile work environment. And it was complete. And by the way, it was completely done in a time where there was a different management. That's all been changed by the Snyders, by Dan and Tanya. And so what they're doing now is, you know, no one seems to understand why they're doing it. Of course, we understand why. There's a political angle to it. Anita Dunn is involved. And it's a Democratic campaign tactic. There's nothing more to it because this has all been investigated. It's been resolved. The league has done it. And why Congress is holding a roundtable, why the House committee is running amok with an investigation that's already been investigated, shocks anyone's conscience. It really does.
Well, as we wrap up, and I want to take a quick look at Dan Snyder. You know, when you're powerful and when you got something people want, you got a big target on your back. So listen, Joe Tacopina, we wish you well. We wish your client well. We wish justice to be done for everybody. But I think we know what's going on here. Joe, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
All right. We'll be right back with Fred Fleiss, genius on Ukraine and beyond. Be right back.